What do you mean by
can't.
there's no true poverty in America, like compared
People
to?
aren't starving.
Do you think that that's the standard that we should hold ourselves to? I feel like conservatives live in this weird world where, on one end, you recognize the importance of community more than liberals do.
It is something that they did to get in that
Why the fuck is Fanatic here?
position.
Do you really,
And they
if you,
need
like
to-
mental illness, you really think so?
Yeah.
So a lot of homeless people disproportionately can be like vets. Do you think that veterans that are homeless are there because
he
they're
was
lazy,
hosting
they choose
it.
to, it's their
Oh,
own
okay.
fault?
Nancy Pelosi's laptop went missing. And they can't find it. And we saw what happened with Hunter Biden's laptop. So
I don't think so.
all it
I
is
think it's exciting. I think it's exhilarating.
Conservatives,
when you feel like
dude. Dude, fighting conservatives, dude, it should be TOS, man. Dude, it's like, it's not, it shouldn't be legal.
you're the only one with the answers, or your intuition is the
Hold
guy.
on, before we get into this, I want to watch. We'll watch that
I
movie
think
later.
it means that you never have to confront an uncomfortable truth, because if something is uncomfortable, you can always say,
you are a Southern mother.
They just let the blacks do whatever
Southern
they want
mother?
with the election, and then
What,
they
like,
cry
what do you mean by
racism
let them,
when
what do
you
you
try
mean
to.
let them do what
And
they
then you
want?
cry
You mean like
racism
vote?
when you try to say, "Hold on, wait a minute, what's going on?" You saw that happening.
Wait, do you think that black people shouldn't be allowed to vote?
No,
Then shut the
okay,
fuck up.
so
Then
what?
you have no idea. You
I
don't
don't
know
have
what
to
the fuck.
shut up.
Wait, no,
I'm
you have no
American.
idea.
There was some unprovoked, like, pushing and aggression towards officers, but then some officers also had unprovoked aggression towards protesters, and that January 6th in general was a peaceful protest. Do you feel like that's a fair representation of
Southern
what
mother.
you're saying thus far, Hank?
Is that
Yeah,
supposed to be
mostly
like Southern
peaceful
motherfucker?
Which is kind of a troll of what they do with the Black Lives Matter riots and protests. If those were mostly peaceful protests, then so was January 6th.
Okay. Ignoring January 6th, so then maybe you don't feel that the riots were mostly peaceful protests, or yeah.
The riot portion of it was not exactly peaceful, but there
Morning,
were peaceful
Slayer.
people there even amidst all of that. Some people who were going into the Capitol building, like a 72-year-old woman and a 49-year-old grandmother followed her in, and she was charged. She followed her in to, according to her, protect the 72-year-old woman going into the Capitol. I don't think those could be fairly described as rioters.
Could I ask a question about that, or are we just on clarifying
Yeah.
parts?
Well, before we do that, Destiny, do you feel that the phrase insurrection is fair, or do you feel like that's overblown, or do you think that's appropriate? I know you tend to be a little bit more nuanced in these things. Do you disagree with the word insurrection? How would you label it?
Yeah, I don't typically use the word insurrection. I think that's a little bit too loaded. But I'm gonna super disagree with the other parts of the characterization that were made here.
Okay. And lastly, I guess we're still waiting on Missy to be available. She's working on her video, I believe, but she has audio, right, Missy? Okay, maybe not that either. Okay, she said she was running into some issues, so we'll just try to keep it going until she's available.
Wait, I'm so curious. I have to ask a question. Why not just do everything on Discord? Why not just use Discord?
I guess because it's just the way that Discord does video. It just looks pretty dumb overall.
Are you sure?
It has in the past.
Okay,
But
I implore you, because all of you politics guys, you all use like 15 other websites. Just try using Discord. It should look fine. All right, well, what's up?
You gonna watch Eris / Steven drama? What is that? I don't know anything about. Is this like a Rickroll?
Anyway, so you disagree with
You're
some
gonna
of the
link me
takes.
something
You
that's
don't like
gonna
the
be
word
like
insurrection, but
it's gonna make me ban you. You're gonna link me something that makes me ban you. Is that what you're gonna do? Is that what you're gonna do? Go ahead.
Other takes.
So
It is persona stuff. I don't know what the. I don't know what is that the Weeb game? It's interpersonal shit. Relationship drama. Okay.
do you want me to get my position, or can I ask him about his position? What exactly? Wait, what's the
First,
question?
give me your position fully, and then.
I don't know if I'm interested, man. I don't know if I care. I don't know if I care. Does that have to do with politics at all?
You can
So I think that it was a uniquely horrible event in U.S. history because I think it was a protest turned riot that was ultimately kind of led by the misinformation coming from the President of the United States. And I think that that misinformation was an attempt to undermine arguably one of our most important institutions, which is, I guess, like the sanctity of voting in the United States. And that's why I think that it was a uniquely horrible, bad event that was just really bad. But calling it like an insurrection and everything gets in other territory that I think is harder to justify. And I don't really think is that important to talk about.
Okay. Yeah, the labeling is not particularly important. Oof. Okay. So what about the characterization that it was mostly peaceful, and that there was just some people that were showing undue aggression against peaceful protesters, and there were
so the officers weren't showing undue aggression. That's anybody that's saying that just didn't watch all the videos. So that's going to be a hard argument to have because you just haven't seen everything if that's what you think. The big part, calling an individual protest mostly peaceful is a weird way to use the English language, and I don't think we talk about any event like that typically. So for instance, if I go to the bar and I get in a fight with somebody and I kill somebody, I don't think I could ever get away with saying, well, last night at the bar was mostly peaceful. If I spent 2 hours at the bar chatting and having a good time and 10 seconds murdering somebody, I think people would say that was a really violent night at the bar. I can't say, well, the majority of the time at the bar was peaceful and then it just got violent at the end. They'd be like, no, that's... Now, if you're talking 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 different visits to a bar, then you might say, yeah, his bar visits are mostly peaceful with one violent event. So I think it's kind of weird to characterize a riot, a protest turned riot, as that particular protest was mostly peaceful until the end. Well, that means that particular protest was a riot. It became a riot. So I think that's kind of a weird way to play. I think we're kind of playing games with language there so that we can escape the consequences of what actually happened. Or facing the consequences of what actually happened. If anybody's talking, I can't hear anybody. I don't know if that's on my end or your end.
No, we're just waiting for her to get that straight.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
What do you have 24/7 in your title when you only stream a few hours a day? Because I'm always on the hunt for drama, even when I'm off stream. Okay, I'm always on the hunt. I'm always fiending for it. My Discord, not yours.
I can respond if you want, Fanatic.
So it's frantic. Can you guys hear me? So how's it going? Hi, I'm Missy. Nice to meet y'all.
Legendary Black Sub Badge B.
Thank you. For anybody wondering why I play Stone Shard and every time I do a dual axe build, it's because I think every other build is really easy. I might do a dual sword build or something. I could do dual swords as well. But the thing is, I need dual weapons of some kind because two-handed weapons are so fucking easy. Two-handed swords, two-handed mace. You just do so much fucking damage. It's unreal how much damage you do with two-handed. You know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. For the first one of the day, I'm gonna try two-handed axes. That's what I'm gonna do. Maybe they changed it in the most recent update. Maybe they made it harder. So we're going to try two-handed axes on the first one. We're going to see how easy or hard that is.
Nice to meet you.
Yikes.
Nice to meet you too.
Yikes.
Oh, wow. I just said something crazy.
Let that
That's crazy.
hang.
I think my mic wasn't working. All right. So let's see if we can try to get this thing working from this point on. All right. We're still waiting. Let me know when you're back in the StreamYard, and then we'll move forward. Oh no, it's still tripping. This is too much. I can't. Oh God. What was the last thing that you said, Destiny? I'm sorry, I'm losing track at this point.
I think it was a riot. I wouldn't characterize a riot as mostly peaceful if it became a riot at the end. This gets a little bit semantical. I just think people try to use these words to escape the consequence of what happened, of understanding what happened.
I see. I guess there was a comparison made between Black Lives Matter riots or protests in general, and saying that those things have been characterized as mostly peaceful.
Yeah, because most protests were peaceful, but the ones that were riots, I wouldn't say it was mostly peaceful until it was a riot. I would say it was a riot. So for instance, probably, it's almost certainly the case that the majority of the protests in like Kenosha were peaceful. It's almost certainly the case. However, not all of them were, and it only takes a few riots to do a ton of damage to a city. So I wouldn't characterize 2 days of rioting as most of the people there and most of the protesters were peaceful. I would say they were riots because it doesn't appear to be peaceful when there's so much damage and everything caused. It's a weird way to characterize it.
Hey, see your smile, and it seems like you pretty much understand that to be true, right? Like it's more of a semantic game of comparison, right?
Not entirely. I mean, he is right that that many of the people in Kenosha were not participating in the violence, but there was still a riot. But you saw on CNN there were purportedly normal reporters at CNN saying, "Oh, it's fiery, but it's mostly peaceful over here," right in front of a burning building, and that was not Kenosha specifically. And so, like, there was maybe 100,000 people, I don't know how many, over at the Capitol. People who went into the building were mulling around. There were some who were getting out of control and acting up. And so that aspect of it is a riot. But he said that you can't say that the cops were not aggressing against the protesters or the rioters or whatever. But Elijah Schaffer, who was there and recording that day, said that one thing that got the people riled was a cop pushed somebody who was climbing up a wall off of that wall, and he fell down a far distance, and that got the people riled.
What does this have to do with anything?
I suppose he was. But
and if a police officer is there defending federal property and another person is trespassing, is the police officer upping the aggression when he's responding to the other person trespassing? That doesn't seem to be a fair way to summarize or characterize the police officer's actions, no?
If we're being earnest, it depends on his response. Like, if somebody starts trespassing and then the cop pulls out a gun and fires 6 shots in their direction, you could say that they're upping their aggression, even though they are rightfully responding to a situation, which is what this person should say from their position. We'll see what they do say, though.
The way that he described it and the way that he read it, he felt that the officer was out of line.
Sure, I'm not asking Elijah Schaffer. I'll ask you, as a red-blooded American, okay? I'm from Nebraska, 30 years. I like guns, okay? If somebody is barging into my house and I shove that person out of my house, okay? And or I see somebody climbing my fence, trying to get in my backyard, my kids are playing back there, and I push them off of my fence, right? Or if a police officer who's tasked with defending federal property and lawmakers is trying to protect that property and somebody's trying to trespass, is the police officer pushing them off of that? Is that
what are you doing,
unnecessary? Man? That seems to be like the first step, the first level of necessary, I guess, defense against a trespasser. So I'm confused by what's...
I would be with you on that if that's how we treated rioters in general, but they gave people room to destroy in Black Lives Matter. So yes, you're right. It is justified.
Yeah,
it may be justified.
Yeah, let's ask that. So when we say they gave people room in Black Lives Matter protesting, did they not also let people into the Capitol in the same way?
Yeah, and those people were far less destructive in the Capitol than
sure. So we're not going to do you say something and then I say that it's wrong, and then you go, okay. So
I will. I'll do that.
But that's dishonest. Okay, right? That's not honest, right? So when you tried to say earlier that they treated, you're trying to make this characterization that they treated BLM differently. They let them riot, but they didn't with the January 6th.
I'll disagree with
that.
You
were going to say
they didn't, I didn't say they didn't. I just said that the cops did some
maybe we've looked
things.
At different.
But provocation is trying to trespass. Is that not provoking?
In that case, fine, I grant you that.
Okay.
But there was a case where the crowd.
I think
the crowd had calmed down already, and according to Elijah Schaffer, an honest journalist we all know, he
I used to do so much damage.
I don't know what they fired into the crowd, whether it was smoke bombs or tear gas or what.
It was tear gas.
Mm-hmm. And the crowd had already calmed down, and many of the people.
So this is actually interesting.
Was the crowd given orders to disperse?
Maybe so.
So
maybe
if the crowd was given what we would say is probably a lawful order to disperse, and they're not doing so, then just like we saw happen with BLM protests, would we not then expect the police officers to use some sort of crowd control, tear gas, or other types of smoke grenades or whatever? Like, wouldn't we expect that to happen?
Maybe so, but it was in Elijah Schaefer's mind, which he was there, I wasn't there, no, neither were you. It was ill-advised because they had already calmed down. Because the right-wingers are generally self-policing. They calm their aggressive.
Self-police their way all the way into the Capitol building. No.
So this was one incident out of many incidents. Generally, right-wing protests are not
That was
violent.
a good line of thought. I think we're going down a good.
Wait. I know. Just really quickly. Because the one thing that I do want to focus on is specifically January 6th. Like I really.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
I don't want the conversation to really kind of center around BLM or any other organizations or any other sorts of riots or violent protests, because this is an indictment of those things. Otherwise, we can end up going down a rabbit hole trying to defend BLM.
Chat. I have 2 goals. Okay, a bit goal and a dono goal. Okay. The bit goal is to play Elden Ring on stream. The dono goal is to play Total War Warhammer 3 on stream. I will not be playing both. Almost certainly. Or if I do, I'll play whatever one wins first. But I probably won't play both on stream. So the polls are up, okay? Or the dono shits are up. So if you want to see me play either or, you gotta donate. And the way that it works is at the end allotted time, which is roughly 7 days, if whichever one with more money wins, or if one gets capped out, that one instantly wins. Right? So somebody full donos for Total War Warhammer 3, then playing Total War Warhammer 3. Nobody can come in later and give a bunch of bits for Elden Ring. It's not how it works. Okay? But otherwise, it's going to be whichever one with more money wins. Right? That's the way that it works. I got the suggestion from somebody in chat. I think it's a good idea.
Them are trying to argue about whether or not BLM was actually violent or not, or so on and so forth. But just focusing on the merits.
Why can't I click on this guy? He's in my
itself.
influence.
Would you say?
Oh, it's
that
because
there were protesters
square is
there shouldn't have been? Were there protesters aggressing against the Capitol, and were the police officers defending that, or the Capitol Police defending that?
Yes, and the double standard is important. It brings a lot of light to the situation.
Well, can't we both come together and say it was bad when BLM rioted and it was bad when Republicans rioted? Can't we just say that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you agree that January 6th was at the very least a bad event that they rioted at, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't rioting in any form not good? You know, I mean, even in the 60s when they had problems with protests and things like that, there were also repercussions that came from that as well. There were issues with soldiers having morale problems. As a matter of fact, I watched a documentary today on a soldier that got the Medal of Honor, and he was talking about how when they talked to him at the first space meeting, he would speak in front of these 1960s Vietnam protesters, that they said, "We're not attacking the warrior, we're attacking the war." And they want to make it very clear that what they were up against.
Oh, this is a much better spot to do it. There it is.
Wasn't
that
him
looks
as a
a lot
person.
nicer.
It was protesting the problems that were going on.
That looks a lot neater.
And I think that we can come together and agree in the middle that that's exactly what's happening now. I don't think that we're fighting each other. I think that we're fighting, all the things, all the tyranny, all the problems. Our country, we've had some problems for a while, and causing a riot or storming the Capitol building obviously has not helped. It just made things worse. So, I mean, we have to figure out a way to come together. We have to figure out a way to understand each other, because if we don't, the repercussions are just catastrophic.
Okay, I love that. But let me ask you this really quickly, because we didn't get your take at the very beginning of this because you're having a few technical issues. Would you classify January 6th as a riot, as an insurrection, or how exactly do you define it? Do you feel it's being overblown by the media? How exactly do you think it should be framed?
Consider it more of a coming together of people. No, just kidding. That was
like
legit,
a picnic? January 6th was a picnic?
Could say, it just depends. I mean, it's all about which position you're in. I hate fence riders. I hate mealy mouthed, fence sitters. But I'm gonna say right now, that's a situation where I was not there. I have friends that were there. I have a friend of mine right now that's been sentenced to 30 days, because he's going to have to go to jail for walking in the building after a police officer let him in with a smile. And he's like, I didn't even realize what I was doing. I didn't understand the repercussions of this. I've never done this before. He's like, it's like the second rally thing I'd ever been to. I didn't know what was going on because I definitely wasn't trying to hurt anybody or kill anyone.
To be super clear, that doesn't matter, right? Would we ever allow that excuse? Like, I didn't know I was breaking the law?
You're absolutely correct. Intentions don't matter because at the end of the day, you are responsible for the company that you keep. You know what they say about one bad apple, and unfortunately, that's true in our society as well. Like you can't just like let something go. In South Carolina, we have this thing called the hand of one is the hand of all. That means that anyone who's in the car and there's drugs found, everyone goes to jail. It doesn't matter that it's not yours. It doesn't matter that it wasn't even on your person. All that matters is you were in the car together. You ride together, you die together. That's how it works with the law, at least. And I guess you could say it was a right. I mean,
law from like a fairness standpoint.
I don't like that word because I feel like there were a lot of little old ladies that got pushed into doing something stupid because they didn't understand. I feel like my friend didn't understand, not because he's not smart, just feel like he underestimated the people he was doing business with. You know, he didn't understand like the QAnon crazy people were there. He didn't understand that like, you know, there were people that were going to commit violence. I don't think he got that because he legitimately was like caught up in the concept of like, we're doing something together. Like because the speeches that Trump gave, the speeches that people give, it incites this feeling of belonging to something. And
you don't
if
just
anything,
get together
we
with
all
some
are suffering to find somewhere to belong.
the government on the weekends.
I don't want to like say that word because then I have to say that, you know, my friend is a bad person and he's not, but yeah, I'm gonna call it a riot. I hate doing that, but I'm gonna call it a riot because any time that you do something you're not supposed to do, anytime that you couldn't walk into my house, right? Without expecting to go to jail, correct? Yep. So why do we think we can walk into the house, even though it's the people's house? It doesn't matter. There are rules, and without rules, society falls apart. And yeah, I'm gonna call it a riot. I hate doing that, but it's a riot. You're right.
Okay.
So someone brought to my attention that it's really difficult to have a conversation about January 6th and talk about necessarily riots or insurrection or any of those sort of things without really talking about like what caused it. It almost is like talking about the symptoms but not like the actual cause. And so for some people, the cause was, it sounded like I think Destiny kind of alluded to the idea that Trump was kind of like creating misinformation that led people towards, feeling as if the country was being stolen from them. And do either of you two, I already know Destiny doesn't obviously, do either of you two feel that was the case? Do you guys feel like the election was stolen?
I think every election's been stolen, y'all. Like, come on, like you remember the hanging Chad stuff? Like, come on, there's all that. I do not believe in the two-party system. I think it's a cult. I think that we screwed ourselves. I think that we can't depend on like this one or that one. Like that's a terrible, like that's what you do with toddlers. You know, you go, which color? Do you want the blue one or you want the red one? And that's what it feels like to me. It feels very insulting. And I do have to say that the QAnon stuff really ramped it up. You know, we had all these little ladies that were sitting at home and no one had anything to do. They're sitting there in front of their computer, you know, freaking out, feeling helpless, finding something they can put their beliefs and their help. Like I can do something. I can talk about it. And it caught people up. And like any other, you know, site, I mean, like Jim Jones, you know. Hate to compare it, but
do you
very
consider
similar.
January 6th an insurrection or like a riot? I mean, there was like a fair number of people there that legitimately wanted to take over the government. But I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't have enough information about past things that we would refer to as insurrections, to be able to reference. So I don't know, because what it's really about is the baggage that comes with it, right? Negative? Dude, they nerfed the out of two-handed axes, man. Holy shit. They nerfed these things into the ground. Negative 7% accuracy plus 30% fucking stagger chance? Yeah, I don't know of previous insurrections, so I don't know what people would typically call that. I would run almost entirely off of prior context for what we would refer to as insurrections, but I just don't know. So I mean, I would refer to it as a quite heated riot, given the information I have. But yeah.
They didn't want to sit there and talk about, satanic pedophiles, and I'm just trying to go to Thanksgiving. Yeah. But I mean, that led up to it, I think, definitely. I think that Trump did not help, though. He could have helped. But he didn't.
What the fuck is that?
What about you, Hank? Do you feel that I'm sorry, but I don't feel like that was a direct answer. I'm not sure what to gather. Do you believe the election, like I get maybe you're saying that overall our political system might be corrupt and things. Do you believe that this specific election was directly stolen by the opposing party?
No, I don't.
Thank you. What about you, Hank?
I don't feel like I have the freedom of speech on any of these American platforms to say what I think about what happened with the election.
Wait, you absolutely do, of course. What do you
Wait,
mean?
yeah, he does. Wait,
I can't.
what?
If I've said stuff on YouTube and I've been suspended on YouTube for saying what I think about what happened with the election.
Well, right now we're on Fanatiq's platform. Fanatic, do you give him permission to say anything he wants about whether the election was stolen?
Nice knowing you.
Are you going to upload this to YouTube?
This will be uploaded to YouTube. I don't think it's a problem. You can voice whatever opinion you have. You don't have to worry about dealing with the repercussions. I would, and I'll take responsibility for that if it were to occur. Do you feel the election was stolen?
Well, truly, I don't know what exactly happened with this election, so I can't really go with any feeling either way. But we all know the reason that we support Trump. I do support Trump is because I feel that the country has been stolen from us by people who support evil. They support the open borders and degeneracy and everything else, and a lack of freedom. So, and we have a dishonest mainstream media that's all in against Trump. We have a dishonest social media establishment that's all in against Trump. So, in a sense, yeah, a whole lot of stuff has been stolen. And then with the China virus, I can say that, right? That was an excuse. That was an excuse to do the mass mail-in voting, so that you made it so convenient for. I mean, we had record voting, not just because of the hatred of Trump, and definitely not because of excitement for Biden, but because they made it convenient for every idiot to vote. And that tends to favor Democrats, low information voters.
Do you think that you should have to take a test to vote or something, or what does that mean? Like, do you think
I think we should have high propensity voters, meaning people who actually love and care about the country and know what they're doing.
What?
Those people should be voting. Maybe it should be landowners, men, as opposed to.
Wait. Well, I'll push on every single one of these. So only people that love the country can vote. I mean, it sounds like right now you feel like
men. You just slipped that in there, dude. Men. All right, dude. Okay, just slipped it in, I guess. Okay. Just just throwing out some thoughts, some ideas. Just something off the top of the dome. You know how it is. Just something to really stew about. Get.
Like the country is turning evil and degenerate. Couldn't somebody argue that you shouldn't be allowed to vote then?
They could argue that, and that's why we need right now. Evil people are
but I'm
ruling
saying
over
like evil could arguably be in the eye of the beholder. So who's even determining who's allowed to vote at that point, right? That doesn't seem like it'd be realistic. Maybe we can toss that one aside, right? Whether you love the country, there are plenty of reasons to be critical of your country, but still love it. You can think that there's a lot going wrong, but still love the country. No.
Yeah, that's what's happening. That was what Trump did.
Well,
definitely.
Sure. And when you say like landowners, does this mean like if I'm renting an apartment, I'm not allowed to vote?
Yeah,
really against
that
men
might be
voting.
that might be part of the solution. Yeah.
Why? Why would somebody that owns a land versus somebody that rents should have more of a say in how the country is run?
Because they have more to lose, and the people who don't own are messing things up for the people who do own.
Wait a second. More to lose? Arguably, no. I would say that a renter generally has more to lose than an owner of a piece of property. No. Like the owner of a piece of property is losing a revenue-generating asset. The person losing what they're renting is losing a place to live.
Yeah, but I mean, people are not going. I mean, people are quote unquote homeless here in this country, but they're spoiled homeless, and so like, there's no true poverty in America.
What do you mean by there's no true poverty in America? Like compared to
people aren't starving.
Do you think that that's the standard that we should hold ourselves to as an American? Do you feel like the standard for our poor people should be as long as you're not starving, like you're doing good? Right,
because they're enabled, as you may know. Like homelessness has gotten out of control because it's been enabled.
Why is homelessness such a unique problem to some large U.S. cities? What's wrong with Americans in your eyes? That like it seems like other European countries can do a little bit more to help homeless populations up in the U.S. We won't.
Because they're being spoiled, and so they're being allowed to do that.
But why don't
we need like to crack down on that stuff? It didn't used to be this problem. The more socialist we've gotten, the more giving to the poor that we've gotten, the worse that they've gotten.
And just because you're not starving doesn't mean that you're eating proper food, because there's a huge difference. When you eat well, you feel good. And there are food deserts all throughout the country. I
feel like this guy's gonna be really
people can make better decisions.
boring.
Yes, but at the same time,
I don't even know what my goal is for this
society
conversation.
to this urban society, and now we're moving back from the urban society to the agrarian society. I've noticed people are fleeing the cities, and for good reason. But the whole point is like, just because you're eating something doesn't mean you're eating good food. McDonald's is terrible.
I literally just opened two chests and got the same thing.
Preservatives. I mean, as a mom, like I wouldn't feed my kid some of the crap that people feed their children in neighborhoods where they don't have that kind of money. Anything you find at Walmart on the shelf is not going to be necessarily healthy for you. And I don't care which aisle it's in. I don't care if it's produce. It's not good for you.
Nice.
Nothing in all of Walmart?
I don't understand why we, when I look at more conservative Americans, I don't understand why you have such an aversion to helping other Americans out. Why we have to pretend that every single man is an island. I feel like conservatives live in this weird world where, on one end, you recognize the importance of community more than liberals do. Conservatives will say things like your church is important, or your families are important, or your extended family can be important. These are all things that, like, if you go to more rural communities, you know, you don't just know your mom, dad, brother, sister. You also know your cousins, you know, your uncles, your aunts. You know a lot of your extended family.
You might be related to them.
I'm not going there. Okay, and then like for your churches, like these communities are important as well. But if you want to extend that idea just a little bit more,
I mean, you're always related
like
to your
somebody that
aunts and
relies on their
uncles,
priest
but I
or
know
pastor
what they
for
mean.
advice, or somebody that relies on a brother or sister for a place to stay. Like these are good, worthy, hardworking Americans. But if we broaden that a little bit more to a social safety net, all of a sudden they become worthless, lazy, degenerate losers. Why?
Have you seen or dealt with the homeless people around here?
Yes, I lived in LA for 3 years, and I've done volunteer work in my city in Omaha. I've been around the United States to quite a few different places. Yeah.
And it's not the conservative areas that are suffering from this homelessness.
Yeah, because you can't really be homeless in like a rural area, right? You can't really be
Right.
homeless in a.
So I don't get why you're thinking that.
Wait,
I don't get why you're thinking
does
that
he
it's the
think that was
conservatives
a
who are leaving
win?
them out
My
to dry.
Discord, not yours.
Okay,
Actually, I think
you
it
want
was
it to be.
his.
These people want to be this way. They are.
Okay, have you ever interacted with a significant number of homeless people?
Yeah.
Have you ever been homeless? Because I have. It's not fun.
Or when if you see a homeless guy, okay, do you mind me asking what city you live in? Have I seen you before? Do you live in LA? Are you in JLP Studio?
Yes.
I think I have. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So you live in LA, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been in the same areas, right? If you walk down Skid Row, or if you're at Hollywood late at night, right?
My Discord?
If you're in these areas, and I know you've seen these people walking down the street screaming and shouting at themselves who are like out of their minds, do you think these
Right.
people are like choosing to be homeless? Do you think the guy that is like not wearing any underwear, screaming at himself, walking up and down the street is too lazy to get a job? Don't you think there might be something else going on there that demands our attention?
It is something that they did to get in that position.
Do you
And they
if you,
need
like
to-
mental illness? You really think so?
Yeah. I mean, mental illness doesn't just happen. It's something that happens throughout their life, something that they did throughout their life to get in that position.
Even for like schizophrenia, you'd say that?
Yeah, I mean, that stuff is caused in part by drugs and by the messed up family situation that the liberals support the destruction of the family.
My
Okay, let's-
Discord, not
Really
yours.
quickly, let me just make sure I'm just ask one question, and then we got to get back to January
Warhammer
6th.
3?
Okay.
Hey,
Do you
listen.
believe that there are any people who have mental?
Listen, that's the based response, okay? Warhammer 3, let's go. Wait, my Discord, not yours. Hold up. Dude, what? Hold up. I gotta purge this. Boop. Also, we're gonna be talking to Ico soon. I'm gonna twitch.tv/Ico rules soon. At some point soon.
Conditions that are not
About
caused
what?
by their environment that might be
general
somewhat more
talk about
hereditary.
some
Do you think that there can be any hereditary
catching up on
mental
stuff.
conditions?
Yeah, I suppose so. Like,
Not
people
like
are
it's
born
gonna
with,
be a debate, or
with,
well, it
like
might
Down
turn
syndrome or
into
something.
one,
But those aren't the people that you see homeless on the street.
Do you think that
And finally, and schizophrenia. You're saying schizophrenia only comes through drugs? Can a person have schizophrenia that has never done drugs and might have had even a stable upbringing in their house? Can a person still develop schizophrenia by maybe some sort of inclination towards that? That was something hereditary, like that ran in that person's family. Could that happen?
I don't buy it. Not if you're saying stable home. I don't buy
Sure.
it. I don't buy that. Yeah.
All right, so
Would
I'm
you
not
say,
saying it's all
just one
drugs, but I'm
final
just
question.
saying that-
Would you say
yeah.
that, like, so a lot of homeless people disproportionately can be like vets. Do you think that veterans that are homeless are there because they're lazy, they choose to, it's their own fault?
That's a good
Th-
one.
There is. I don't believe in the choice thing, and I don't believe in some cases there's a laziness, but there.
So do you
there
think
are
U.S.
steps that-
military veterans who are homeless in the
Yes.
United States, do you think they're choosing to be lazy?
People never come home. People never
You're
come
saying
home from the
choosing to
war.
be lazy. That's not the only reason for homelessness. But they do things in their life because they are leading out of control lives that put themselves in that position. That's
Is this
undeniable. You can
3?
even ask them that; they'd admit it.
Man, I should have gone
Okay.
with swords.
So, we're gonna deal with a few. I had one other
I want to
question.
go back to the
I
Mr.
don't
Role.
know.
Don't let him log off. I want to talk to him before he goes to sleep, guys.
Kind of crazy, but yeah, we can talk about homelessness. That's a whole other conversation. That's crazy. Which I'm all here for, but I just want to try to keep this conversation a little bit more focused if we can.
35,
so,
that's so
on
much
January
gold
6th,
if I can get to the second city.
Various people were attacking the Capitol. Documents detailing some individuals who were like present at the Capitol. They were labeled as unindicted co-conspirators. And if you remember, Tucker Carlson had made the statement that these were FBI agents. I'm sorry. Sorry.
The
These were-
FBI agent.
they
wasn't
were
arrested.
FBI operatives that were organizing the attack on the Capitol. This is something that Tucker Carlson stated. Hey, were you aware of that? Did you ever hear that? How do you feel about that claim?
You know, I don't have much interest in the ongoing investigation because
Dude,
I see that
I'm getting
like, the
every
January 6th committee
Patrice
is
that
kind of a
doesn't
kangaroo court, and then the
Whatever,
FBI are a
man.
bunch of liberals who are anti-Trump. So I haven't, and I catch Tucker now and then, but as far as the specifics of possible FBI involvement. I did watch Patriot Purge. That's Tucker's documentary on Fox Nation. But
Yeah, Elijah Schaefer was in.
yeah, Elijah Schaefer was in. That's where I heard about the protests. Part of where. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But in general, people's anger about what's going on in the country, people's anger on the left and anger on the right can be exploited for their own detriment and for the country's own detriment. And I think that's what happened with January 6th. And I heard that.
To me, dude, I don't know if anybody's fucking watching the gameplay at all. Probably not. But for the amount of people that fucking spam, what game is he playing? What game is he playing? I would have thought maybe you would have. But like, what I do is I do something like this to be able to. It's a bit of a cheese, but it really what it is taking advantage of my opportunity with this axe. You can pull people with the axe, so I just sit here and then pull them onto the trap, and then they take a bunch of damage. But I didn't realize this guy had an axe, and he tried to pull me onto the trap too. Nearly fucking died, boys. Holy shit! I gotta watch out for that shit, man. You never know when you're gonna get got.
Trump wanted more.
He tried
security, or at least talked about having more security, having and according to like AP or Reuters, an inflated idea of how many people he would be attracting. And so he threw out a number, but that never was followed up on. And so we didn't have enough security. Surprise, surprise. So, and it was odd. I don't know if Antifa showed up. Antifa usually shows up to everything. Maybe they thought that they would be outnumbered, or maybe they were.
One guy.
Yeah, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were feds of some sort involved, but I have no idea.
Do you think it's fair to say? Do you think it's fair to say that we can't really trust any of the mainstream media's reporting on this event?
Yeah.
Do you think it's fair to say that we can't really trust anything that comes from like the White House or Congress about this event?
Yeah.
Do you think it's fair to say that we can't really trust? Do you think it's fair to say that we can't really trust our intelligence agencies when it comes to this event?
No, we can't trust our intelligence agencies as far as we can throw them.
So, in that case, why do you know you can trust some alternative media outlets? How do you know that they're not incentivized to tell you lies or to fool with you like you would claim any of the mainstream media is? How do you determine who's honest or not if you don't trust any part of the institution?
If you ask me,
I don't necessarily even trust those guys. I don't necessarily trust those guys.
You say that, hey, no, don't lie to me. Okay, hold on, wait. If we're gonna have this conversation, we're not allowed to lie to each other. So you're telling me that you're citing things like Tucker Carlson is saying. You're telling me you watch a documentary. It sounds like you believe in a little bit of at least of what he says. So you do have at least one guy, right?
But he didn't make any statement about what actually happened.
Well, you're telling me now that didn't he make a statement about there being an FBI agent like organizing some of the protests?
I didn't hear that.
So no, that was actually
Ray Epps. He pointed to Ray Epps. We saw Ray Epps, that guy, or I think it was Ray Epps.
Okay.
We saw him, but we don't know who he is. We don't know what he is.
Okay, gotcha. Maybe I misunderstood. That's what Fanatic made it sound like he said.
That's what he said.
Fanatic, you can go, or Frantic, sorry, not Fanatic.
Frantic, I know.
Either one of you can answer, yeah.
What if I were to tell you guys that this hardcore slap from the government, I'm not a curse, right? Whatever, I'm gonna say it, slap. This hardcore slap, right? From the Senate and everybody else, and whoever's, and obviously power's gonna power. That's what they do. Haters gonna hate, power's gonna power. Like, I mean, I just call them all lizard people because, like, for lack of a better word, like they suck. I don't believe in actual lizard people, but like these people, they act like it. It's like they don't have any empathy. And I'm gonna tell you right now, what if I were to tell you that this whole thing, this major investigation, this back and forth, I mean, the woman that they went and raided her house in Alaska, what if I were to tell you it's because Nancy Pelosi's laptop went missing and they can't find it? And we saw what happened to Hunter Biden's laptop.
Oh my God.
That would make a lot of sense by the dragging everybody in and asking everybody questions. I had two friends of mine that were brought in front of the FBI, had their phones taken, were dressed down, and they're like.
By the way, I'm firmly of the belief that these people who do this are just bored. And they try to make their life more exciting because the 9 to 5 that they're doing or something is too mundane. And they need to spice up their life. So they come up with these ridiculous conspiracies to make life more interesting than it is. Because let's be honest, shit is not that interesting. Why do you think I play video games? Listen, dude, the real world kind of sucks, alright? It's not that cool, alright? There's not fucking goddamn dwarves or magic or fucking, spaceships or whatever the fuck we want the world to have, alright? It's pretty dull, alright? And this is how people, I think, entertain themselves by creating fantasies of massive deep state conspiracies that everybody is in on to make shit feel a little bit more normal. For a
They're
little less
libertarian.
normal.
I mean, I'm a constitutional existentialist for lack of a. There is no party that fits me. I am politically homeless right now. But my friend, who is a libertarian, happened to be there. He was just there because I was like, we want to check it out. Got dragged and put in jail. Nice to spend 30 days. The FBI questioned him in a jail cell for 48 hours. Did not let him make a phone call. Took his phone for 2 weeks. Went through his whole phone. And he literally was just there for like 5 seconds, walked in the building and was like, I think I should leave. So, I mean, that happened. They dressed everybody down. They dragged in every single person they could find.
I thought they did find the laptop. I'm not sure.
Haven't found the laptop yet, no. No, that's why they raided that woman's house in Alaska. That wasn't even there. She's happy to have the same name as someone who was there.
I guess here's like here's kind of my concern, I guess, I guess this is for both of you, is it seems like some people are so keen to throw under the bus every single institution that most people would say, we get truthful statements from. Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time. So what I don't understand is why, if all of these institutions can conspire together to tell lies and they're all incentivized to do things that are horrible and evil, why would you not assume that people in the alternative media or people that post stuff on Facebook or Instagram wouldn't have the same incentives to tell other lies? Like, they get paid a lot of like Tim Pool makes a lot of money, Alex Jones makes a lot of money. These types of independent alternative media figures, they make a lot of money telling you a story that is contrary to the official narrative. What like mental checks do you do to make sure, like, am I being taken for a ride with these guys as well? Or how do you choose who to trust?
First of all, everyone needs to know, if you go to the CIA website, cia.gov, you go to the bottom of the page, there's a link there that says, FOIA, and you click on that, and you can freedom of information search anything that's happened in the past. And when you go and you look at the stuff that's happened in the past, you've got everything from, the Jekyll Island meeting to, Operation Popeye, where they were messing with the weather in Vietnam. You've got, the Gulf of Tonkin incident, by the way, that was Jim Moore.
I hate it when people bring this up so much. But, like, if you look at a FOIA request and then you look at all the bad shit that the U.S. government has done with a lot of this shit, like, it's like you have to realize we have an internal auditing system that allows private citizens to do that. What? How are you? I don't know. That's crazy. Wouldn't an incredibly conspiring government that really wants to pull the wool over your eyes and lie to you a bunch just not do that? Why would you do that? That feels so counter to your goals. Fuck me, dude. There's so many mooses. It feels so counter to your goals to expose that kind of information or data.
Morrison's dad, by the way, I don't know if you guys knew that. Interesting is that, Admiral Morrison. But you go and you look at all these documents and you start figuring out, like, okay, this is an organization I can trust. This is an organization I can't trust. There's other, like the Library of Congress is a great place to look. When you look at history, you can tell what's happening now. You can tell who to trust. And you get a sense for it because you read enough. If you read enough, and I read both sides of the aisle. Now, granted, I want to chew glass sometimes when I read what these paperclip journalists that have zero, integrity or any concern about how it affects the people that they're putting out journalism for. I want to chew glass, but I read it because it's important to see all sides, because I might catch something from their article that I won't catch from the other side.
Oh,
it's
God.
important to read both sides. I don't trust Fox News. I don't trust the Daily Wire. I don't trust anybody. You know what I trust? I trust me. And I trust my sense of, like, digging into everything. And if I see it all and I put it all together, I go, well, this tracks and this doesn't. And this, and you just got to weed through it. And it sucks because it's...
And you happen to just always fall in line with the same exact opinion that Fire has. I feel like that's pretty cringe.
Not put in an easy, take your pill, watch your TV, TV dinner style of journalism. It's not made easy. It's something you have to spend the time and do the research and like read. And it takes up a lot of time. But here's the thing, nobody can lie to me. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that they'll click on a title and they'll believe it. And they're incentivized to do so. And people write the article incentivized to do so.
I'm curious, like, how do you know?
If everyone does what you're, really quickly, if someone does all of the researching and the reading that you've done and they've come to a different conclusion, then that means that now the entire truth will always be incredibly subjective, right?
Truth is always subjective, isn't it?
No.
There's history, her story, and the truth. I just threw my pen. There's his story, her story, and the truth. And that's always been true.
Well, but
that's
there is some...
Group of people that are all the same place, all saw the same thing, all witnesses. They separate them, and they take their story individually. And the stories don't even match because they just saw that.
There should be some underlying fact of the matter of something that truly did happen, though. No, right?
History.
Yep. I don't really get my info from these conservative outlets that much. I mostly read CNN, Morning Brew, The Skim every morning. Those are mainstream outlets that are referencing like the far left Reuters, AP, New York Slimes, and all that stuff. I read those, but I just read them with a grain of salt. And I suppose that money influences the right, just as money influences the left. But it's not just money; it's ideology, and it's not really a conspiracy. It's a culture of people are corrupt. They the reason that the left and the right don't see eye to eye is not because of money as much as corruption of the heart.
Well,
so they don't see clearly.
Well, let's think of something more
specific. So these
specific.
institutions are all against Trump. Well, they're plainly against Trump. The intelligence agencies.
What would it take to convince you that maybe a lot of people are against Trump because he genuinely was a pretty bad person and had a lot of pretty horrible ideas? Like, is there anything that could ever convince you of that?
It could. I can be convinced that some people actually believe that. But in general, people hate him because he told the truth, not because he was a bad person.
So if we look at something in particular, we'll look at one truth claim, a big thing that is central to the topic of this conversation, which was whether or not January 6th was caused by misinformation or not, right? Was the election stolen? So when Trump is making a claim that it was, but we can't find any proof of that anywhere, how do you decide if that claim is true or not? Like, what path do you walk to figure out if what somebody said is true or false? Where do you go for information? How do you figure that out?
I'm leaving that as a whole I don't know.
But is that truly how you function?
As far as the election itself, I don't know. I don't have.
So you've never been. If I were to go look through Hake Report episodes, you're never saying something about how the Democrats stole the election or how there was voter fraud.
I'll say voter shenanigans.
What does voter shenanigans mean?
Fraud.
Fraud. Okay, so then you do believe there was some level, maybe not.
I think that there must have been. But I don't know how consequential it was. But because I already know that the country is corrupt, so people are so corrupt that they'll vote for evil against good. So I'm just saying, I really don't know, but because there's a lot of ways to steal a country without just cheating. And the point of cheating is to get away with it, so to not leave evidence. And they, as you know, they got rid of the ways to find the evidence, like the signature checks and things like that. So there's a whole lot going on.
Do you support Trump as being a pretty good man when it comes to being a leader?
Yeah.
Why was he so well, do you agree that I'm leading you a little bit, but do you agree that one of the hallmarks
he's still taking on right in your mind, darling, so he must have done something.
Wait, was that to me or to him?
To you, Destiny.
Oh.
He's not even president anymore. Like,
well, we're talking about January 6th, which is why we're talking about Trump, right? So, and a lot of people are still looking for
the last days.
So do you know it to be misinformation, Destiny?
I believe it to be misinformation, yeah, that the election was stolen.
But you don't know for sure that is misinformation.
Well, that's a much deeper philosophical question. But like, I would be, if I was a betting man, I would put a lot of money with big odds that it wasn't stolen, of course.
What do you like? How do you get your information? And like, because if anything, I always want to hear what other people have to say, and I always want to learn from other people. So if you've got a way to do it that's different than mine, I'm willing to listen and willing to glean information from that. How do you figure out what is the truth? What steps do you go through to fact check the information that you believe in your heart to be honest?
So I think that right now, I think we live in a media environment where there is a lot of incentivization to discover fraudulent stories or reporting on the other side. So any mainstream publication that's publishing a story, I'll typically read that. And if none of the other big publications are trying to call them out or catch them out on something, then I'll generally believe what's being printed. Now, if there is alternative...
Like the Miami Herald? Like the Miami Herald and the Epstein story stuff, like that's it. That's a good
I don't know as much about the Miami Herald, but like, I'll read like reporting from Fox News or CNN or the New York Times or AP or Reuters or Al Jazeera or the BBC. Like most of the big publications, I'll read and probably be like, yeah, this is probably true. If no one else is calling them out or saying anything is wrong. If all of the mainstream media is missing something and alternative media are making claims, then I'll try to find like, okay, well, what is their evidence for these claims? And then I'll look at that.
But as we all know, those mainstream sources
90% of the media is owned by 5 companies. 90%. Of the media.
They're corrupt.
So just because 90% of the media is owned by 5 companies doesn't mean that every single individual reporter is owned by those companies, right?
No, but they have to follow rules like you can't say illegal alien. You have to pretend a transgender is the pronoun that they want to be. It's a culture
so all of
going
these things
are
all of these things are not all similar to one another. But like generally, journalists are
But that's what I mean by corrupt.
Sure, but journalists are one of the big group of people where if they feel like something.
What? Wait, how is it corruption that they have to have a rhetorical style so that way they can keep their fucking viewer base? Wait, does he think that like conservative media, like for instance right now, a really good example is, does he think that like he could talk about trans people in a positive light right now and not lose his job with JLP? It'd be a pretty big controversy and have pretty big blowback on JLP. Does he think that he can just go off and be like, you know what, actually trans people are kind of based, you know, LGBT stuff, you know, I really opened my my mind to it. Does he really think that he's going to be able to just freely talk about that shit and be incredibly off-brand? Come on.
Thing is being pushed that is unfair to one of them, they'll all get together on Twitter and start making a big stink about things. Like, typically journalists will do that.
Yep.
I guess my issue is that like I feel like I can navigate the world pretty well. I'll read an article. I'll use the most inflammatory example. I'll say CNN. Okay. I'll read an article by CNN that does some reporting, and if nobody else is like contradicting the facts of the matter, now sometimes I'll contradict an interpretation, but the fact of the matter, then I'll probably believe this is a true fact of the matter, and then maybe I'll read a few different sources or listen to a few different pundits to get what an interpretation might be. Right. So if like it seems like we all agree, when I say we all the mainstream media will agree on the facts of the matter around Trump's presidency generally, but we might disagree on some of the interpretation. So for instance, there is a fact of the matter that Trump tried to build a wall on the border, and then the interpretation of, well, was it to defend the country from foreign invaders, or was it because he's racist? That would be like an op-ed, or like a pundit might give me that, which is a little bit not as much as something I'm concerned with. But my issue right now is we don't have disagreements about opinions or interpretations of events. We have disagreements on facts of the matter, which should be easier to verify. And my problem is when I run into a lot of people that have a mistrust for the mainstream media, it doesn't seem like they have some sort of system to validate information other than just what you said, Missy, is like intuition.
That's why I asked you. I was like, please tell me how you validate information, because God knows we're all looking for a way. I mean, this goes back so far, and it's not just America; it's the whole damn world. Like, where you can't get good information. They're bought, they're paid for, brought to you by Pfizer. You know, like we don't know what the truth is. We just have to depend on these people, these talking heads that read off a monitor, and be like, they know exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think we do have to. I don't think we always.
A good form.
I don't think we always have to trust them. I think that there is some like built-in validation in the system. So for instance, if we're going to talk about a claim that Pfizer makes, there is a lot of incentive on other sides for Pfizer to be wrong. Other pharmaceuticals want them to be wrong because they don't want them to beat them to the punch.
We're not here to talk about Pfizer.
Well,
we're here to talk about
I'm just saying for this particular thing, right? There are other companies that are incentivized to find errors in anything Pfizer says.
Why-
and there are
why
other
does she
countries
not want to
that are
talk about
incentivized.
Pfizer after bringing up
Johnson & Johnson
Pfizer?
has every incentive in the world to reveal if Pfizer's vaccine is bogus. Or if all the American vaccines are bogus or something weird is happening, Russia or China would have a lot of incentive to step in and say something. So one thing I'll look at is if a fact of the matter is being reported and other people would be incentivized to speak out against it, but they're not, it's probably true. Otherwise, I don't know why somebody else wouldn't be saying something.
It must be so nice living in a world where you can trust what you read from any of these assholes. Like that must be so comforting, because I don't trust any of them.
I disagree, actually. I think your world, I don't trust
government. I don't trust.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I trust like
I
local
think her
politicians.
world is a lot believe literally whatever you want to believe. Like, believe anything on intuition. Don't have to look into anything. If it sounds right, it's right. Like, that's life on easy mode, dude. And especially when you don't actually have to care. When it doesn't materially fuck you over really fucking hard to have to give a fuck about that. Man, that'd be real fucking nice.
That I vote for, that I work with, or that I know. I trust what I know. I trust people that I meet. I trust what I can put a handshake to.
Yeah.
I trust that.
So I feel like your world is way easier to live in, because every now and then I'll read a story that might.
I'm exhausted.
I don't think so. I think it's exciting. I think it's exhilarating when you feel like you're the only one with the answers, or your intuition is the guiding light. I think it means that you never have to confront an uncomfortable truth, because if something is uncomfortable, you can always say.
You are a Southern mother. That was such a jellyfish, nice going.
It was very nice. It was very nicely done. I respect
you sound like
it.
my mama. You will be best friends. Because like 5 minutes later, I'm like, what did you just?
There might be a time. There might be a time where I read a story and I have to confront a truth that I don't like. So, for instance, not true.
Do you listen to yourself?
I've been for a long time. So, to not trigger Fanatic here, there's a lot of stuff about BLM that I've read that, in retrospect, as I read more and more, it's like, okay, this is pretty hard to read. The Michael Brown story is not exactly what I thought it was initially, or the Jacob Blake story is not exactly what I thought it was initially. Right? There would be something where I read it and it's like, man, that sucks. This is a difficult thing to confront, and I'm reading this and I have to accept that. But when I talk to people that don't trust any of the mainstream institutions, their lives seem so much more fun and exciting, because instead of ever having to confront uncomfortable information, they get to live in the exciting world where everything is a conspiracy, everything is rigged against them. They're the only ones that have the answer. They can use their intuition to figure everything out, and they don't ever really have to confront an uncomfortable truth that they might be incorrect about something, or some figure that they worship or idol that they have might also be incorrect about something. I'm curious if you can give me an example. Maybe I could be incorrect, but do you feel like there's some truth you discovered in the media recently that was like, oh man, I was incorrect about something and I needed to revise my opinion on this, or something that made you uncomfortable? It's like, I'm curious, like, what would be an example of that?
Just told you that I had to say out loud, which would really upset my Southern mother, that it's called a riot. Like, I had to say it was a riot. I can't deny, culpability to the law. The legal precedent takes place over my personal beliefs or my family's beliefs or anybody thinks about me. I like being wrong, because when I'm wrong, it means that I'm not like them. I'm not someone that can't admit that I made a mistake. And I'll be the first one to tell you, like, I screwed up, that I made a mistake. And that's just being a good person. And at the end of the day, like, I don't see the media doing that publicly and often. And, honestly, it just makes me sad, because I feel like the American people deserve We deserve a better system. I don't know what that system is. It's future science. But I think that we definitely can all agree that there has to be a better way.
Shit, I needed to repair my
guarantee it's not bought and paid for by somebody. That would be ideal.
What about you, Haig? Do you think? What about Haig? Is there any time where you've had to change your mind on a fact recently? Where like, oh, I was wrong about this particular thing.
Yeah, like when I don't know what exactly I thought about when Trump wanted the 10,000 National Guard troops over in the Capitol before the January 6th mostly peaceful protest, part of which turned into a riot. But I saw this fact check on Twitter that said Trump did not actually submit for 10,000 troops officially, and that the afternoon of January 6th, Nancy Pelosi says that she would have welcomed that, or she would welcome that. So I had to revise my. I guess I had an assumption that Trump had submitted or something like that officially. I don't know. So that's why I revised and made it more nuanced. That Trump made an offhand remark that he would like 10,000 troops, when in reality, which is the reality according to the media.
Why did you trust the media on this report when you think they're willing to lie about so much else? What?
She actually has a point here. Actually, the media needs to be more responsible when wrong. Apologies aren't enough. They need to be front page because most story. Yeah, I know that there's really big. I know there's I forget what the term is. It's not like ghost edits, but they do things where they'll just go back and edit a previous post that they made quietly. That shit's pretty dishonest. They'll like know that they fucked up, but they'll just go through and change the page. They won't actually like. Come on, man. They won't do anything to actually alleviate the problem. I don't know. It's just like remove liability. It's funny.
Maybe they're lying about this particular thing, and Trump did request.
They might be.
Well, so then you don't really believe it. Then you just.
No, I just say what's according to what they are saying. That's all we really have to go on.
Well, but I'm asking you about like what you believe, not telling me what a media outlet said that you disagree with.
So I believe that Trump
my Discord, not yours.
He wanted the 10,000 troops. Like he made a comment.
That's not. What I'm curious about is like, is there an example of like something that I get nervous about is like if I believe the same thing for a.
All right, hold up. We're gonna do a talk with Aiko right now. Let's see what's going on. I don't really know the content of what's gonna happen here, but we're gonna probably discuss a couple of political topics. It's not structured to be specifically a debate.